Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I've got another book that I found at Second and Charles along with the Brian Boland Judge Dredd stuff. I got the original printing, I think. Oh no, this is a second printing, but kind of in the original format of the old Marvel graphic novel line. Unfortunately, that means it doesn't have the best binding, but this is kind of the original format for Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz's Daredevil, which I've definitely read this before. I'm sure at some point in time it seems familiar to me, but I don't, I haven't really looked back at like the Electra Assassin stuff, and I really need to pull out my Stray Toasters. This is really making me want to dig more into like Sienkiewicz of that era, his Frank Miller collaborations. Because this is just the artwork in this is beautiful. The Frank Miller writing is like Frank Miller writing. I guess like at that time it seemed really cool. Now I look back on it and it still feels like that kind of really abrupt, clunky writing that we associate with him now. But it's still a good, intense story. On this page, really, really, and again, I know people understand this and other people have seen it, and I've seen this before, but it's hard not to reiterate how awesome Sienkiewicz's Kingpin is. Just an absolute slab of a man. The cartooning on the face to represent his anger, even the collaging in of this like strange, trippy, like tie-dye wallpaper to make his vest. Of course, this stuff was blowing people's minds when this came out. This is awesome, and also stylistically, like really, really of its time. I think this image right here, this is a character named Victor. He's looking over this woman, Cheryl Mondant. Again, I'm not too worried about the story here, but this Victor character, I'm pretty sure this was in that like History of Marvel comics that came out in, I don't know, I must have got that for Christmas one year. It must have been 92, 93, I'm not sure. But I remember seeing this. I think it was in that book, this image, maybe this. And at the time, as you know, I was about 12, maybe 11, 10 even. I don't know how early that book came out. But I remember seeing this stuff real early, maybe in a Wizard magazine, I'm not sure. And it just spooked me really bad. Like it looked so demonic and possessed. And now I look at it and it's like, yeah, of course that's what he's doing. He's kind of using this baboon structure of a face to show the guy. And it's just so good. It's so effective. And the fact that that image is burned in my memory all the way from childhood speaks to that. And yeah, again, just all this use of collage is really, really nice throughout the book. It's one of my favorite books growing up that I need to get back in to do a reread of is Kabuki, and it's pretty obvious looking at this. And again, this is no new revelation, but it's pretty obvious looking at this stuff what an influence Sienkiewicz had on David Mack. Some really beautiful just color work here in this sequence where Daredevil is saving the Cheryl woman. That's one of the things I've always loved about Sienkiewicz. He really knows when and where to use the trick of equiluminance, which is just that he's having like cool colors and warm colors that if you took a black and white photo of them, you would see just one even gray throughout. But since your eye recognizes value and color separately, one of those signals will be saying, no, this is all the same gray, and then the other one will be saying, no, there's a bunch of differentiation here. And that gives his work that glowing look that he has. I mean, he's also using airbrush to get an actual like glow effect, but a lot of it's his color choices. He's so good at that. He's so good at that like hyped up glowing use of color that comes from mixing equiluminant but like wildly different images. Oh, actually, and this is the image I saw that stuck in my brain with the baboon face, all those little holes in his eyes. Some magazine or book had that, either that panel or this whole bit of 3 panels here. But that like baboon face person with the little speckly noses, yeah, I just remember that. It's such a powerful image, and you get that all through the Stray Toaster stuff too. He's just so good at drawing like mental distress. Really fun Kingpin right here. Again, just how big he makes the face and how much he's willing to scrunch down into the middle. Again, getting that totally demonic look. And then on this page here, just all of these kind of visual resonances of like fingers and irons and arms and keys. That's just powerful visual stuff that builds up meaning. I also really like that this door kind of has like a film strip thing going on the side. It looks like it could be film running by. I will say that Bill Sienkiewicz's Daredevil is not as much of my thing. When he does like the guys in tights and he does his really kind of distorted Neil Adams-y type of thing, I don't find it as exciting as his really big exaggerations. So like images like this, I see at the time like this still would have been blowing people's minds, but I prefer when Sienkiewicz leans more towards the cartoon shape on the outside with the more realistic rendering on the inside. I think that's where he's the most powerful. Whereas when he's working more realistically, it's still good, beautiful colors and stuff, but it's not as powerful. And when you see an image like this compared to a page like this, or even, you know, a more distorted figure like this, to me it's pretty obvious the difference in the impact it has. But yeah, you can't beat a composition like that. That is fantastic all the way through. Just another super stunning composition. I feel like this one must be very heavily influenced by an exposure to Sergio Topi. It's like pretty obvious that Bill Sienkiewicz would have been inspired by and looking at Topi, but some of the shapes in here, imagining not having the red, but you could see like just an ink drawing like this at the bottom of a page being very Topi. The flattening out of the shapes, even though they're very realistic, flattening it down to the silhouette and then filling it with more like realistic details, even though you have a cartoon shape, that's all very Topi. But Sienkiewicz is a much better colorist than Sergio Topi is. Sergio Topi is definitely better as a black and white artist. So it's really nice to see like someone with the Topi design sensibilities who actually has real control over color, whereas a lot of Topi's colors can get a little muddy. Sometimes they're really nice, but I feel like Sienkiewicz is far superior in that regard. And then again, just another amazing Kingpin. And I do think like here in the end, Frank Miller does do some really good writing, speaking about like the state that a person like this can get themselves into. I have built an empire on human sin. I am feared by the honest, and the wicked elected officials obey my will as swiftly as the lowest pimps and pushers. I have everything I desired. But obviously, you know, there's a story going on here with his wife Vanessa as well, where you know he doesn't have everything he desired. He's got all the things that the world might say, wealth and power, but he's still missing something. And then Sienkiewicz just adds so much weight to that by the way he gets this V shape crushing in on these hands and these big shoulders. So this was just a real visual pleasure for me, and one of those things that, yeah, is making me want to go, okay, now I got to go read all the other Sienkiewicz stuff, collaborations with Miller. I got to go pull out my Stray Toasters and look up any other like really painted work that Sienkiewicz has. I'm not so big of a fan of at least the writing in like New Mutants and things like that, so that might be harder for me to go back to. But this kind of stuff is really fun. Really glad that I came across this and was able to pick up a cheap copy of it. It's fun to go back to this stuff.
Whole new world. 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 For you and me.